Amazing, everyone. Great to see you from all across the world coming in. We still have a few people joining, but let's get started. First, I just want to apologize for a little bit about our AI system having an issue with daylight savings time. And on that, I have good news. The new O1 reasoning system has an automatic correction system for that. And I think it just shows how far we've come in the last 2, 3 months. So let's get started with that bit. So of course, welcome to our Vijal Institute webinar where we have your path to AI success. And thank you all for being part of this great journey as we all transform the world using AI. I think I'm preaching to the choir when I say that we won't recognize how the world looks 3 to 5 years from now, thanks to all the incredible innovation that's happening. The last update from me was maybe 20 days ago. I tend to do this once a month. And even since then, so much has changed. And so I am going to dive right in. For those who are staying with me live, we'll do a little bit of persona in-depth thought processes on. And of course, please, at any point, please use the Q&A button. Many of you on your phones will have it right there. Some of you might have to search for the tab on Zoom, but you can ask as many questions as you'd like. And I'll try to answer them while I'm going through the update, but if not, I'll get them at the end and we'll do a question digest answering. So let's dive in. So first, of course, and I was up all night yesterday and the day before updating because so many things dropped. The new ChatGPT 4.0 latest, which came out, well, yesterday, has completely blown past its own O1 and O1 preview and O1 mini. A little bit of disappointment. A lot of people expected the next update to be O1, which is considered to be the number one reasoning model by ChatGPT and the number one in the world, to be fully out. For those of you who've been tracking the O1, which they have showcased with 50 messages per week, so please use it sparingly, in the ChatGPT Plus access, is maybe 30–40% below the O1 benchmarks they've been showing us. And so that was a big hope. I personally think they're probably going to wait until closer to Christmas and the holidays to do a massive launch. There are a number of other things we are still trying to wait for. One is advanced voice connected to visual cues, which hopefully will also come there. But please use the latest model. Came out 24 hours ago, is rolling out to everybody. Have a look. And I'm going to come back to this sheet because there's some certain players here that are very interesting. The one big thing which I want you to have a look at is just these two models, right? And these two are sort of the chain of thought, old school models, which what we figured out last year, more data isn't helping the model. So La Llama went from 70 billion to 400. It was a marginal change, right? And so then we said, okay, let's figure out how to use prompting techniques to self-prompt. And so O1 Preview and O1 Mini use self-prompting. And the big question was, well, that doesn't look very difficult to do. Turns out it's not. And so one of the big things, of course, that came out yesterday again was DeepSeek. DeepSeek is a Chinese-based model, which is going to go open source, I think, within the next week. And it uses the same techniques that ChatGPT 4.0 uses. In the head-to-head, it's pretty much comparable with O1 Preview and O1 Mini. And so once again, emphasizing there is no moat. And DeepSeek has been able to, just like O1 Mini and O1 Reasoning does, look at lots of engineering problems, think through complex legal challenges, and reasoning some of the top complex logical questions that 4.0 was terrible at. O1 Reasoning and DeepSeek just shoot past. And if you remember, O1 Reasoning gets, I think, it's 90% plus on the LSAT, probably like 95, 96 by this point, versus 70% on 4.1. So once again, a huge number of companies will continue to come out, new models will continue to come up, and we'll see more announcements as we go through this presentation. As you know, Suno is one of our favorite tools, Suno and Udio. If you haven't taken it already, please take the course on Vijal Fun and Family Activities. It is a free course, and I will post that in the chat. This is a great course that sort of allows you to start using AI and ChatGPT to have high quality time with your family. And one of the tools we use is Suno, where I create in that custom music themes for kids to enjoy the week. And 4.0 just came out, which is absolutely fantastic. And please try it out. I've just been faffing it for the last few hours, and it is truly impressive. Um, I wouldn't say a game changer, but even a 30-40% improvement in any music, you can tell. So please have fun. That just came out yesterday. Um, Alpha 4.3, for those of you who've been tracking AI in healthcare, AlphaFold, which is the Nobel Prize winning tools for modeling protein chains. If you know what and can predict correctly what protein chains and protein folding looks like and structures, it's something that is a game changer for drug discovery, healthcare management, personalized medicine, all of this. And it's very nice that AlphaFold is slowly going open source. I think that's going to launch 100 companies across the world, labs and all, really being able to push the frontiers of medicine thanks to AI. Another model drop, another Chinese model drop, Quen. This is open source. So Quen 2.5 and the latest Quens are now officially ChatGPT 4 class models, absolutely keeping up with the best. But very tellingly, they dropped a 1 million token model. So if you recall, ChatGPT Plus has a max of 32,000 words that you can fit in one single chat. Claude says 200,000, but effectively I've seen support 50,000 right now. Google Gemini, of course, leads this, 2 million contexts, but the fact that Quen 2.5 Turbo has just come up straight out with 1 million tokens. If you have been in my classes, I keep telling you the best way to get stuff into AI is copy paste. Everything is copy paste, whether it's search, whether it's RAG, whether it's anything else. It's just how do I copy paste into AI? And the fact that the token window increases to such a large extent means you get a very superior AI first token window rather than outsourcing it to a document search or a search engine, etc. So this is game changer again, pretty much because it's also open source. And I do want to look at the price points at the bottom, 1/4, 1/5 the price points for the turbo model. And we're seeing this across the board. And one of the big questions I always get, hey, Addy, is the $20 a month price point going to hold? It's kind of cheap. It is going to hold. Already, WhatsApp has Meta's La Llama in. Facebook AI is free. I fully expect Apple Intelligence and Android AIs on phone to not just be free, but to constantly update to the latest model, not just stick around where they are in their launch. And so that means maybe a new update every 2 to 3 months on that. So I think from the consumer side, everybody should expect to have access to a free AI model. So, start fafoing, learn how it works, go to the AI gym. This is the Korean CSAT. This is not, this is the Korean version of the entrance exam for the colleges. One of the very interesting part of this is the killer questions. For those of you who've ever had the privilege, misfortune of having to take some of these, they are really hard. And of course, these questions are designed to be tricky. They're designed to be logically complex, and they're designed to really look at things. And by the way, all those who've just come in, please feel to ask questions using the QA tab, and I'll be able to answer from them. I can't take hand raises in this webinar system. So the jump, what we're seeing in its ability to reason. And this is why the chain of thought, this is why this new self-prompting models, I call the O1 series self-prompting, because they take a prompt and they think about how to do it. They prompt themselves, and then give an answer. But the ability to self-prompt and to start thinking from a single prompting technique, which is chain of thought prompting, you can see the massive increase in score, right? From GPT-4o mini being all the way down here, GPT-4o here, and just the quality of the thing. And this is all happened in a year. And so you can see this insane boost of its ability to handle very complicated reasoning. trick questions as well. Now, for those of who want to have a great discussion on AGI, that's very nice, but it's still a fill in the blank model. So I think it's coming close to behaving like it, which might just be it, but we are still, I think, a few years away from that level. Great chart um, on price and performance. And this, of course, if you look at the token price per 1,000 or per 1 million going down, this is ChatGPT 4 API. The base model itself, the score going up. This is the ranking score for the LMSIS ranking score. And I think you're going to see this type of behavior for at least another year. It won't be boosted, I think, by just large amounts of data. It's going to be higher quality data, better transformer techniques, better model training techniques, but also, quite frankly, just the ability to bring in some of the best practices into the models on how to self-prompt themselves. And that's, I think, the big story that we're seeing out that's coming in. But for all of those who are really kind of worried about, okay, what are the business stuff that's going to happen? Do I expect my AI bill to go up or go down? I think you're going to see it firmly go down. No more, lots of competition, and we'll cover some of the big jumps in cost of running these as well. This was a little bit scary. And so this is a Cerberus. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reshare my screen. There we go. So you get a better video there. And this is a demo from Etched. Etched is one of the companies that does a custom ASIC chip, and which means their chip only runs AI. We covered this in the last update. You can go and see that video over there. But the ASIC chips allow them to run extraordinarily 10x, 100x times transformer models for really, really cheap. What you saw here was a simple game that they made. And the entire gameplay, as you move around, it live gens what's going to next by predicting what should be next, what should be next, what should be next. So incredible demonstration to show that how the world of games, how the world of entertainment will change, where you're having inline customization. So every moment, something new, something new, something new. And the AI is figuring out what is next, what is next, what is next live. Obviously, small and choppy frame rate. This is a public demonstrator, but I can completely see how this will transform media and gaming all across the world. All of you know I love AI video, but I don't really see it as being ready for prime time at the consumer level yet. I do think a lot of agencies are starting to slowly use it. Obviously, if you remember our framework experts, L1s, L2, experts being on top. I think AI video is definitely still in the expert realm. A lot of editing required, a lot of understanding required. But this is a new camera angle system that just dropped. This is Runway, where you can adjust the camera angle post generation as well. And you can then figure out how you want the shot to come. And of course, if you're a filmmaker, this is game changing. If you're an art studio director, artist, or just want to see how camera work works and where you're moving and not just a fixed subject, this is absolutely fantastic. It also demos that how in the near future, I mean probably 2 weeks, you're going to see AI video tools really come in as part of the professional video creation journey. And so please stay tuned. I think this is fantastic. I don't think it's something that in my chart of, easy, hard, difficult, expensive, I think it's still quite expensive, and I still think it's quite difficult, but the technology is out. So we can expect in about 3 to 6 months. We had audio come in last month completely and change the game. And we did a couple of audio demos. But video is probably going to be ready for prime time, maybe in 3 to 4 months, where it's easy, fast, accessible, and most importantly, very predictable. O1 or 01.ai is a really important company to look at. for several reasons. One, of course, and you would have seen this in the first overall ranking, it's pretty much in the top 10, very high on math right now, very high on coding. And the shocking story is, of course, Li Kai-fu in a public conference talked about how Chinese companies were training AI models at GPT-4 class levels for 3 million US dollars because they had a chip shortage, well, a chip sanction to be more exact. And if you're training models, which the US companies, at least as of last year, were spending 100, 200, 300 million dollars on, and now you're able to train them for $3 million in China because they have to have better engineering. This is amazing. And this was the company that did it. So they made Yi Lightning, which is a ChatGPT 4 class model, and which is very high ranked, in fact, exceeding the old ChatGPT in many ways. I think it's fantastic to see. And this is something which I've been saying for the last 6 months. What we're seeing is the engineering abilities for the first time, optimization engineers going in and saying, look, very nice math guys, very nice AI guys, but we can figure out how to either create a hardware advantage, a software advantage at the training level. And so if the Chinese companies can do it, I'm sure within the next 3 months, 6 months, most US companies would also be able to do it. And I think this means we are going to witness a massive crash in the cost of large model training. We expected it. If you remember an update from 3 to 4 months ago, there were many papers and companies claiming that they could do this for, I don't know, $10,000, $20,000, which can be perhaps not a GPT-4 class model. But to be frank, if it's reached 3 million publicly, I'm sure it could easily come down to a couple of $100,000 by the end of next year, particularly again with custom chips and all coming out. So again, the cost of making these has gone down, which doesn't mean you should make your own model. And for those of you who heard my rants on this, there are very few reasons why you would make your own model unless you plan to launch a business or a foundation or a nonprofit that does that, because there are too many people, a lot of people are doing it. It's very hard to find a completely different, unique selling point. Another model drop, which was Pixtral. And so Mistral, of course, is the only major, I should say only major, I think the only major European model, which is on the list. I do also wonder how long they'll be able to be the only European model. I suspect they're under a lot of pressure internally and externally to move offices to the US and all, just given the European regulations. I was very happy to see a lot of good talk in the European Union that, hey, perhaps we need to change our regulations to be more AI forward to at least help startups and companies that want to do activities here. For those of you who've been tracking this, have seen that most AI companies have just ignored Europe. So they're refusing to launch products there. And even the big ones, even OpenAI, for example, they are delaying features to Europe, often months and days, and sometimes even longer. That isn't for well for Europe. Obviously, most European AI devs and AI enthusiasts are using VPNs to get around that. So it's really nice to see a European company based in Europe really push out new features ASAP. Mistral, of course, has not just launched their new model Pixtral, which has now hit high benchmarks, and I'll show you those right now. But they have also done, I guess, a full copy of the ChatGPT style interface, including launching web search with citations, which, as you know, they outsource. So does ChatGPT, so does Bing. Well, not to Bing, sorry, in this case, to a mixture of search engines. They've copied the ChatGPT canvas, which was the big drop of last month, which is absolutely insane for inline editing and exporting. If you have time, I'll just show it to you how cool it is. And of course, a new state-of-the-art document image model, which is the Pixtral Large image generation. They have licensed out from the non-profit open source Black Forest Flux Pro, and it's a fully integrated offering end to end. So they have created an European competitor to ChatGPT. So it should be interesting to see how fast they can continue to innovate and keep up, but at least the user interface is there. And you can see some of their, and of course, this is what they are saying, independent expert spending, but basically showing them beating, the existing Llama large models and competing either on par or better than most of the current top models. Obviously, they haven't benchmarked with the latest ChatGPT 4.0, which came out yesterday, nor have they benchmarked with 0.1. And you'll see a lot of companies refusing to benchmark with 0.1. One, because of course the threshold is so high in terms of the difference that they have, but also because in many cases it's not considered a pure model. It is nothing but ChatGPT 4 plus self-prompting, and so I guess from a consumer perspective, it doesn't really matter, but I guess it matters to them when they're looking at technical benchmark. And again, Pixtral's comparison with major models showing their leap. Obviously, of course, again, I think part of the reason why I think ChatGPT 4.0 yesterday got a boost up because they're like, oh my God, we're falling behind. And we've seen this behavior by OpenAI consistently. Whenever another series of models come up that are close to them or slightly better, they suddenly give a slight update, which just boosts their numbers. So the joke is they probably have like 2 to 3 years worth of models hiding, and they're only going to keep bringing them out as and when they feel that the competition is catching up. But I think with DeepSeek and a couple of other of these Chinese models really pushing the limits, I think hopefully they will start bringing out their new models faster than what we would have expected from them. Couple of questions I'll take quickly. Bruno, do you still see ChatGPT 4.0 as a bit dumb in following instructions? Bruno, it's gotten a lot better. So for those of you who remember our update 4 or 5 months ago, when 4.0 had just sort of come out and it forced all the custom GPTs to move to 4.0, it was much dumber in terms of following exact instructions. It's a lot better. I would say on par with old ChatGPT 4. Obviously, again, extensive prompts. We always believe your 450 word plus prompts are the way to go. But absolutely on that. How long before we get true AGI and capabilities mean for true AGI to you? I love the second part of the question. What capabilities mean true AGI for you? I, haven't really formed a line in the sand of what for me AGI is, because just so many definitions out there. And for those of you who are thinking about AGI, which pretty much can translate to anything that, hey, since this is artificial general intelligence, AGI, which means the model can pretty much do stuff on its own without human intervention. And I think that for me is the very basic definition that I accept, is that, okay, that given a problem and a really bad prompt, it should be able to figure out what it is. Just as you'd give a person, here's the problem, here's some stuff, and they'll figure out the tools they need, they'll figure out what they need to do, etc. For that, we're pretty close. I think about a year and a half, when I think it'll be fully baked in, where it'll be beyond just a few cool demos where you could say, hey, here's a problem, AI, figure out how to solve it without having to prompt it. And it'll come up with its own prompts, it'll come up with its own methodologies, it'll come up with it basically trying to match the output. I think that for sure is there. I think AGI to a point where it can start independently learning, thinking, responding, the sci-fi AGI, which is the one we're all worried about. I think probably 3 to 4 years away, maybe 5 years. And I'm expecting at least 1 or 2 major leaps in AI systems and methods before that happens. And we're seeing a bunch of papers come out. And if you read off all the, if you put $500 billion into anything and you get hundreds of millions of people to start using something and millions of people to start working on it, you'll get some interesting breakthroughs. And so I think we are probably about 2 breakthroughs away from something that is eerily scary as sci-fi. And that's probably 2 to 3 years away. And I'm hoping it's 2 to 3 years away, primarily also because I think the labs which are going to be really pushing for this have a lot of safety and hopefully regulatory by the end of the year. Almost all the major labs and model makers have called for AI regulations. I think part of it is because, again, this is an arms race, right? So I think they're under pressure to keep shipping. And if they don't ship, their competitor will ship. And so there needs to be some sort of international or US government at least led regulations to figure out what those lines and barriers are. So I think basic AGI probably end of next year, which is real and usable rather than just a demo or okay, it gets two things right out of 100. But I think beyond that, then maybe 3 years to 4 years, where it's like sci-fi level. Okay, this thing is a little bit now scary. Sooner than I would have expected. And again, I think it still needs about one or two breakthroughs before it gets to that level. Always love that question. David, Perplexity AI, have you used it? Of course, I use it. I use it every week because every time I get excited about it, it disappoints me. I would not use it, quite frankly, in terms of complex legal medical questions or anything. Perplexity and the team there is everything I see about them is absolutely great, great people, but it's still very much a wrapper using Claude and Google Search and a bunch of other systems where they're basically let me Google that for you and summarize the result. I always say never use AI large language models, even if they're connected to search engines and search engines, because they are either curating or they are searching from the web, summarizing and giving to you. And if you do any high power searches on Perplexity, even on the pro option, it quickly shows you how good or bad it is in terms of just being able to scan the top 10, 20, 30 results from Google. So it's nice. It's time save for simple searches and results. I don't think it's there yet. And I think they know it. And they have a good launch today. So I'll talk to you about what they just did. AI in healthcare continues to, of course, push. Everybody remembers the last month we talked about the Stanford study where physicians not using AI got 74 on a complex diagnostic cases, 77 approximately with the use of AI, and AI itself got like 85, 90, and 90 plus scores. So clearly, there's a lot of room to do. The advanced AI models, particularly fine-tuned and medical focused in the labs, are showing insane results, 98, 99%, to a point it's shocking. But what's really, really interesting for this beautiful study was they measured empathy, right? So it's not just its ability to diagnose patients, but it's a lot more kind, compassionate, and empathetic when talking to him. So think about bedside manner superior to most doctors, diagnostics superior to most doctors. And again, I refer back to our Vijay pyramid, right? Experts, L1, L2, and in healthcare, the experts are the experts. ChatGPT is never, or any AI model is never going to come near the experts simply because they're experts and ChatGPT and AI models can't take liability. And so I think for the top 1% of medical professionals, they'll still be head and shoulders above what AI can do. But for 99%, they should be augmenting themselves using AI. It'll save them time, it'll save them money, it'll be able for them to deliver superior outcomes, and more importantly, check for errors. And I would be very sad and surprised that if in 5 to 10 years' time, most doctors don't use AI as a nice, good assistant and companion to help supercharge their ability to spend more time with patients and really deliver higher quality of care. More model drops. So Lava, and the only reason why I mentioned these, there are another about 10 models which dropped, but this is a vision exclusive model at 11 billion parameters. So it's a small open source vision model, which is very well comparable with existing open source models and to some closed source models. Obviously, they're selecting who they're competing against. And the vision models are very, very important because the vision is what is really sort of connecting AI to the physical world. So whether in manufacturing or construction site management or in healthcare, or in fashion, retail, vision is really driving a lot of use cases and getting better, faster vision models that are smaller and that can be run at the edge. Imagine, in the CCTV camera or in a fashion studio, which can take hundreds of pictures and quickly process and give you results, create three-dimensionals, or at a construction site where it's able to quickly using a drone flyover, rush through and process a lot of information and give you contextual understanding is absolutely incredible. And so watch this space. Vision has already been transforming a lot of stuff. If you see some of our AI in healthcare use case in applications, you'll see a lot of this being pulled out already. Uh, We've had an election in the United States for those of us who are hiding under a rock. And obviously, a bunch of researchers. It's a little bit dated, of course, because obviously there's a lag between research and publication. And it's pretty much asking them, how would the model vote? And, pros and cons and why. And we've already seen because of the data sets going in, the biases that are there. And this paper sort of really shook things up because it, again, instead of just doing the biases, it just did Trump versus Biden. Obviously, President Biden dropped out of the race, and so this is an older paper, but it just shows you the inbuilt bias. Back to it, you cannot trust AI. You cannot trust it as a search engine. You have to provide the data. You have to provide the persona and the bias. And so it's really, really important to remember that. If this is biased in this way, just on a simple Biden-Trump question, what is the sales bias? What is the finance bias? What is the education bias? All these biases are built in. So please remember, always bring in your own bias, bring in your own data. Don't use it as a search engine. Don't trust the default option. This paper should have made a little bit more waves. We get a lot of these every couple of months. Obviously, notable authors in this case, including Ilya from OpenAI fame. And the key thing is their ability to reduce the training steps required to same accuracy by a factor, right, of 4 to 20. So 4x to 20x easier to train. And I think part of this is also what's driving a lot of innovation in how long does it take to train models. I see a lot of these papers come out every month, many of them from questionable research labs and sources. So I'm always like, okay, I'll believe it when I see someone actually do it. But this is a fairly trusted group. And so it also means, I think, we're seeing multiple confirmation now from senior AI scientists across the world telling us that training AI is going to become cheaper, easier, and much, I would say, much more accessible. There's a bunch of countries, including the UAE, including India, who have launched AI sovereignty movements where they want to have at least one or two major national models. And I think this is making it cheap enough to be accessible to almost every country in the world. And so when you talk about the AI arms race, when we talk about AGI, when we talk about Skynet, this is no longer, a G8, G20 play. This is something that most countries across the world can start dabbling in, for better or worse. I've always maintained I'm less worried about large countries who tend to be responsible with, ending the world armaments usually. My worry more is that this becomes cheap enough that the person who will create Skynet won't be some, fancy monolith lab secretly is hiding somewhere, or some James Bond villain, or a accidental lab leak from one of the top national AI laboratories, but rather just some computer science students playing around in their second year to do something fun. And I think I really worry about that more than I worry about the large-scale national AI systems from an arms race perspective, privacy, security, and other thing. Talking about perplexity, yay. It is interesting to see that they're finally trying to figure out how to make money. For those of you who woke up this morning to the new news last night, the US government had to submit a plan on how they plan to break up Google as part of their antitrust trials. Google's having a bit of trouble just because, just thanks to the discovery system in the US, so much came out about what they were doing in search that, perhaps not the best look. And one of the things that came out is, of course, that they want Google to sell Chrome, allow every company to have access to their search results and data for 10 years, and stop bundling Google products with Android as default. Huge asks. Obviously, Google is going to fight it. For those of you who are old enough to remember, Microsoft went through this with Windows and Internet Explorer years ago, and they lost in the US, but the European Union finally caused them to debundle. I think this opens the door to alternative search engines, and Perplexity certainly does have a jump in. Perplexity has launched this, which was obvious, e-commerce search. For those in retail, remember that the first place to search went from Google to Amazon. So people tend to search for products in Amazon.com rather than in Google when they're trying to buy something. And so Perplexity is trying to do that. I've tried my hand at it. It's decent. They're also probably earning affiliate commission from everything you buy through their links, which is how they plan to make money, which I think is very smart. And so I'm much more confident that Perplexity and other search engines are providing real value to consumers. I still think they're, if you're a power internet searcher, I still think it's not there yet. But we're seeing the track and we're seeing the trends. And I think maybe 3 to 4 months once they start figuring out more use cases for the search, building out more features, and really sort of increasing the quality of search results. They're still very much dependent on third-party search engines. I think that's part of the problem. They have to use other search engines to get their results. They don't have their own search engine per se. And so I think by probably early next year, I think you're going to start seeing them start building their own web crawler search engines in public. I'm sure they're doing it in private. And to then rethink on how search information is stored, how it's sorted, and how it's shared. My take always is I always worry about who's curating behind the scenes, but certainly we've had Google curation for many years, so it's encouraging to see another company come into that. Cerebrus is another company which is like Grok with a Q. Etched is creating these custom chips. This is their latest drop on number of tokens per second. Just think of it as words per second. And now you're having their ability to run the 405 billion parameters, which was a little bit crazy. 70 billion is the usual benchmark, but they're able to run it at 969 words per second, which is far outpaces anything that's out there in terms of speed. And then as you're going to see more and more companies give this level of speed, consumers' expectations on speed are going to change as well. And so this is already Cerebrus is etched. There's a couple of Y Combinator companies that are also launching again in this space on AI transformer chip design, all of that out there. So I definitely think we're not going to see this race slow down in terms of speed, in terms of cost anytime soon. We still about 2 to 3 years of good amount of R&D innovation launches left, and people are launching really fast. And so clearly a lot of pressure on all the major companies, Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, to either buy these chipsets, buy these companies, invest in their own to get this kind of speed. For those of you who have been using ChatGPT for the last year and a half, you can just see how much better the speed has gotten, but certainly not, instant, like 1,000 words per second instant. Okay, I'm going to grab some questions. Nitesh asks, AI tool which help with customer service department. Nitesh, very easy. Drop us an email outreach at Vijal. Happy to connect you to places. You can do a custom API connectors to your backend ticketing system. Certainly major English, major languages like English, Indian English also for that matter, and most Indian regional languages, very easy to do in terms of ticketing. This is a really easy one to do, can be done within a few days. I highly recommend taking our course on where you can make Bob and bot course with you in the chat in specific. I'll share the learning paths as well so people can see that. But our bot course in particular is crafting bots or internal use cases, stakeholder experience, and this can sort of help you create that out. I've pasted in the chat. Have a look. Those are fantastic. If you haven't signed up, here's the 10% off for all of those who are joining the webinar in case you want to upgrade your membership or become a new member. and takes courses like that. But it's fairly easy to take. And again, if you're stuck with it, just write AI. This is pretty simple, and we'll get someone to help you on that. Not an issue. Um, I want to just set up for next year. Already we are heading the end of 2024, which has been a crazy year in AI and in many other ways. And this to me is the next year's big thing. One of the things which I've been working on, and with many of you, by the way, great to see so many friends in the audience, is really thinking about not just using one posse. And I'm going to talk briefly on that when I come to the personas. Is on, look, you take one piece of data, let's say a CV, then you have a persona of the hiring manager, you have the persona of the CEO, you have the persona of the CFO, you have the persona of the teammate, you have the persona of someone who'll be reporting them, all looking at this and giving their feedback in sequence. The big ones, of course, is to get these to talk to each other. This has been there for a year and a half or more, just as much as AI, was one of the first thoughts. It's been difficult due to cost, and it's been difficult due to understanding of how this works. This is by Amazon. Microsoft has one. There's a bunch of open source ones as well. This just came out very, very recently. But what's very nice about these are ability to not just do one pass, two pass, three pass, which we'll talk about in the persona section, but actually talk to each other and come up with answers. Still early days, but I thought I'd put a pin in this. This is something that's going to become big next year as the cost goes down and our understanding of the sophistication capabilities of these things go up. Gemini came out with memories. And for those of you who don't understand what memories are, it's just sad. So the biggest critique everywhere is, why can't AI just remember? So guess what? ChatGPT launched memory. Gemini has launched memory now. And what it does is it selectively remembers things. Now, the problem is that the selective memory, it means that it's sort of same thing as ChatGPT. It's not a clean prompt. Every time you ask a question, you change your persona, it's going to filter it through these custom memories, and it's going to get it wrong. Here you are trying to do a focus group for marketing your latest blog post or your latest product launch, and you built the personas, you're running them, and they're just behaving like you. Why? Because it's remembering all these random stuff you told it to remember. In fact, one of the things which my big recommendation is, and I'll just show you how to do that right now, is to go to ChatGPT. Hopefully you're seeing my screen. Go to settings, go to data control, no, personalization now, and turn this off. Turn this off, turn this off. And the reason why I say this is because it selectively remembers what you've done. Now, you can tell it what to remember as well, but again, you're not using AI to its full power, right? You'll be doing some personal project, you'll be doing a professional project, you'll be doing something for a client, you'll be doing a new entrepreneurial thing, and it'll bring in all this baggage, much of it which you don't remember that you put into it. So I understand why AI companies are trying to get memory, because it's a big consumer demand. But at this level where you guys are so awesome, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Remember, anything you want to tell it, bring it into the prompt. Be intentional about what you want to do. Okay, let's stop there. Let me, before I get into the personas, which I wanted to talk about this time as well, but let's look at a couple of questions. Rima, can you tell us more about the using apps within ChatGPT on desktop? Is it effective? Yes, it's very effective, in fact, and I highly encourage everyone to download the desktop app. It's gotten a huge update. In fact, as of yesterday, and it's rolling out. The web app should also be able to use voice, which is very nice because one of the things, particularly for long prompts, is people prefer to dictate the prompts rather than to type them. I think that's a very nice way to do it. And so those are coming out. There is a PC app, not as effective, but try it and let me know. I use a Mac primarily, so I'm not that familiar with the PC app. I've seen a lot of people and many of our trainers use it. So please think about that. Doug, data also has some large and growing percent of data on the internet is now AI generated. Does that create a problem for AI as advancements? Doug, the good or bad news is that more data doesn't mean better AI, right? And that got discovered this year. And so they're going back to the drawing board, higher quality data. Um, so the only trouble with AI generated data is the error rate problem, right? So if there's so it's very simple. If there's a 7% error rate, and then you train data on that 7% error rate, that's 7 plus 7 plus 7, and suddenly most of your data is full of errors. I'm not concerned. I think synthetic data is very high quality, as long as there's an expert curating it. And I think it's a curation problem rather than a generation problem. And that's why you're seeing most large AI companies license stuff from Associated Press, The Atlantic, Shutterstock, all of this stuff. And there's a lot of trashy data on the internet, AI or human generated. There's a lot of high quality data. And the big thing is who is curating that data is more concerning and will drive AI advancement rather than the availability of data. I say this all the time, all human beings are pretty much derivative. I did a large scale innovation project about a decade ago trying to understand how innovation works. And one of my key conclusions was there's only 10,000 people at any given moment on earth actually making new stuff. Everything else is just combining stuff people knew or people thinking they're innovating, but somebody like 200 years ago on a farm in the middle of nowhere thought of it, just didn't put it down on paper. So human beings have a tendency to overestimate their ability to innovate and our ability to come up with new things. There are a few people who are coming out with new things consistently, and they always will. And so I'm not worried about that data going away. And the rest, I think AI synthetic is quite there. Again, quality, curation over quantity. If the US Department of Justice forces Alphabet to spin off Chrome, you think it'll be a major setback for their overall corporate AI initiatives? Nick, I actually think it'll do well for Google. And I'm a long-term Google stockholder, for better or worse. But the joke that I always say is that Google creates and kills 10, 20 unicorns every month. So, well, this is not me telling anything new. Google knows that really well. Their management team knows that very well. And they've been doing a massive restructuring effort in the past year, particularly as AI comes in. But I think them being able to have focused teams on AI independent of single company bureaucracy. If you've heard of the standard Google problem from last year, it's gotten better. I hear that to change one color code somewhere, it needs 11 sign-offs all the way to the top. Right. So I think breaking up Google will actually be really beneficial for Google's ability to innovate. I wish them the best of luck. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think they have phenomenal research, phenomenal teams, and phenomenal products that just haven't seen the light of day. And so I'm really hoping this at least spurs them to start really using all the amazing people they have internally and pushing out a lot of more innovative products. And Google hasn't had a history of being able to service enterprises as well as the Microsofts, the Oracles, the Accentures of the world. And so I think that might actually help them out is if you're a spinoff or a dedicated team, which is now really, really dependent on enterprise rev. They're doing a lot of good stuff, but it's still overly complicated. Anonymous attendee, which AI is better used in motor insurance survey? ChatGPT. Sure. O1, if you can use it, just remember you only have 50 messages. Again, I need a lot more about the case study before I can make an opinion. If it's in OCR and it's insurance, Textract is really good for this. Abby FineReader is really good for this. Victor, when it comes to corporate closed chats tools, we expect more self-hosted LLMs with open models from Hugging Face or the API-based models. Victor, I think the API-based models will keep being a focus. I think there's a lot of people who are, pushing, we need to run our own models for safety and security. It's the, I joke. I mean, I'm old enough now to remember people saying, "Don't put things on computers because they get hacked. So only be on paper." Then it was, "Don't put stuff on LAN because LANs get hacked. Keep it on your computer." Then okay, don't put it on the internet. Put it in your own data center, which is private. Okay, don't put it in your data center. You can put it on the cloud, but don't put it on the public cloud. Okay, don't put it on a public cloud. Put it on a public cloud, but in your own. I mean, this is just going on and on and on. I think the arms race is too crazy. Almost all the major companies I've seen who've invested in their custom models are realizing this is a mistake. I haven't met a single employee of these companies who like their models because they're always behind. And you can't expect most companies to invest in that level of innovation. It's not just about the training costs, which are now getting cheaper, but the technology is still new. So you're talking about upwards of 100, 200, $300 million budgets just to run these models, when you can just write a check to any of the top API companies and work with them to get compliant SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 if required in all of those. Uh, Krish, when are you going to get the persona of yourself? It's almost there. HeyGen has the new version 3 out. I'm planning to do it. Next time you see this, you might see me, you might see this entire webinar done by my avatar, and hopefully, I'll step in for questions. Ankur, Ankur, I would look at two, three things. I would look at any ideas on AI in manufacturing. I would look up for a competitive, advantage. Obviously, supply chain optimizations, analytics, all of that. So please take the analytics course. It is our number one course in terms of impact. Please go in and take that course on how to use it for analytics. So manufacturing analytics is a big way that you get a huge jump from it. You're looking at also in terms of maintenance systems, all of that. But the vision models are incredible. So I would go from anywhere from product development to QA, QC, to plugging it into your systems. Again, I'm not sure what type of manufacturing you're talking about, but almost every single part of manufacturing, both in terms of strategy, optimization, analytics, AI is now really doing it. Off the shelf is doing a great job. Machine maintenance and repair predictions, all of that. And obviously, once you move to the robotics side of AI, which is getting really good, and I think two updates ago, we did a deep dive into robotics. But we'll probably do another deep dive, probably Jan. I'm really looking at some amazing stuff that's coming out. And I think that itself, these contextual models, vision plus physical robot arms, you're going to see a lot of happening in manufacturing. But I'm doing an AI for manufacturing thing soon. And so I don't want to preempt that. So you'll see a lot of things. Sid, how do we sign up for your office hours? Sid, first sign up as a founder member. Yay. And then just email me anytime. We'll figure it out. I'm a little bit crazy on the travels, as you can imagine right now. Very happy to talk anytime. Are you seeing quality examples of AI agents being used in real-time meeting facilitator consultant, paying 10 third-party consultant to come into a team, moderate team, strategize, Canva agent, train to do? Baron, so one of the things which I wanted to perhaps show this time, but I won't do it this time. I'll do it next time. Was really seeing how to bring AI into meetings, right? And this is something I've been working on for 4 to 5 months now. What role does it play in meetings? How to use it effectively in meetings? And it was earlier driven by the analytics capability, right? Hey, we have this question. Oh, let's just get the answer now. Why are we waiting for it to go back? And second was like stating the obvious. I believe in a 2 hour meeting, 1.5 hours goes and everybody just stating the obvious. And you could just put in the agenda into the AI system with a good prompt and just tell you, here's what the obvious things you're going to discuss for the next 1.5 hours, move on. I think the facilitation part is not going to go away. And simply because you need a human presence there. We've seen a couple of online Zoom meetings happen with some of the new generation video models, which have led the meetings. But physical meetings, I think, is going to become is going to take time, and it's a mixture of just physical presence. It's a mixture of eye contact. There's a lot of other things happening, and so I don't. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, why the Vajal Institute is so focused on in-person trainings as well and in-person coaching as well, and that's primarily because we see a whole bunch of things happening, which is well beyond just the voice and visuals and all. But I think Zoom versions of AI moderators and facilitators are almost here. I would expect early Jan, Feb to be able to demo to you a couple of really cool ones that are working very well, and you can find them online already. It's not new, but the physical ones I think is still going to take time. The only difference is if you can get the team to somehow defer to it at intervals, like every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just to check what it's telling you, because you can always just ignore the AI stuff, right? It's hard to ignore human beings. It's easier just to ignore a screen or ignore an AI, no matter what it's doing. They might have an AI representative in the room, which is working on its behalf. That might be a nice hybrid to think about. Can we do electrical system studies analysis? Of course you can do. And again, use the vision model. It runs Python really well. And so, you use the ChatGPT and O1 reasoning for the reasoning capabilities, use the analytic models to actually run the numbers. Training. Yeah. Please become a trainer. Our entire training system is online and it's getting a lot better. I see a lot of our persons who just went through the first one. Thank you for your patience. We figured out all the edges. We still are, to be honest. But mostly now it's end to end. I've posted the link in case you want to become a trainer. The world is changing. We really think that now is the time where we need to transform everybody's lives using AI. And I want each and every one of you to be a part of that journey. And I think that's something for me which is really, really important, because I think you're all, just the fact that you're here, are serious about AI, not just very curious. And I think that is a game changer, in terms of your availability in your communities, in your organizations, to truly make a difference. So please become a trainer. I've shared this link there. And we used to have only in-person trainings. Now this is fully online. There is an application process. And so please have a look on that. Also, a side thing to remind, since I'm on the page, everything we do is free for schools and free for colleges as well. So if you know a school or college which is starting an AI club, please have them reach out to us. We are working extensively to develop B2B curriculums, AI clubs, and all, and it's completely and totally free. All of our online courses, and you can see our membership options here for businesses, teams, and enterprises, all of this. And this is probably one of the best ones because of the sheer amount of stuff that you get. And use the Web 10, please, on that. But all of this is free for university students and free for schools and colleges. So please let us know, and put us in touch with them. We'd be very happy to give it to them. This is something that's a big part of what we're trying to do. We're still very much a social impact company. And so if you sign up for a membership, if your company signs up for a membership, it's really helping us fund a lot of these programs as well. And that's something that we really believe they are the most at risk at, is this population. Okay. I do want to quickly do personas before we end in the next 10 minutes, because I know some of you have to go. And personas are, again, and the reason why I want to talk about personas here, one, they're becoming more and more powerful. We've had a great paper out from Stanford, and I'll share it once I've sort of deep dive into some of the issues. I had some issues, and so I didn't want to share it right now until I looked at it. But on the surface, it seems they were able to spend 3 to 4 hours interviewing individuals using standard psychology interviewing techniques, and then recreate their personas up to an 85% accuracy. And that's amazing. And so the idea is that you can use personas to analyze anything you're doing, an internal policy and an external policy, a new marketing initiative, all sorts of things that you would either need to get a huge group outside, or you have to go and spend a lot of time doing interviews, which you still should, by the way, but get immediate feedback on the wholes. And I'm going to sort of run a prompt for you on this and just show you an example. And this is from our retail prompts there. And if you're joining us from the YPO Retail Network, hello everyone. And hopefully you're going to join us for the 10-week retail challenge, where we are transforming and doing a 10-week coaching for all retail companies who are member of the YPO Retail Network. And let me put a simple prompt here. And so we're going to talk about, and this is part of the course, which is going to go online. And I'm going to butcher it completely, but here, let's have a look. So you are Olivia. Your goal is to react to our loyalty program enclosed below. So this is a simple example of a new retailer trying to launch a new loyalty program. And it's a simple prompt. First, read through the program, and then provide your reaction, pros and cons, what changes you'd like. First, read about a company, and then the loyalty program. And so this is the persona, the age, the occupation, the shopping habits, the goals, the pain points, what would work for her, and then This is about our company. A very simple persona. Most of you have at least 2, 3 pages by our personas. Use those, please. This is about the company, and then this is the entire explanation of the loyalty program. And what's very nice is that you're able to get an opinion, about this from a perspective buyer, right? What is the peel? What is the tiered membership? What is the points? What is the partner discounts, the surprise gifts, all of the stuff that it likes, but it doesn't like. And then you can do a deep dive into figuring out, what are the concerns, how you would change it, content areas for improvement, right? And again, very specific, right? Dollar to dollar, point to points, all of these. And so you can imagine if you were coming up with any internal, external policy, any new marketing systems, any new thing, if you happen to be a 100+ year British car brand trying to do a rebranding, you might want to use this. I was actually going to use the Jaguar ad and run a couple of personas, but then I felt bad. I said, look, let's wait till the 2nd of December to see what they come out of it. But pretty much you can use personas to simulate what your bios would look at. And I did put in the Jaguar ad, to be honest, and I was going to show it to you, but again, I felt bad for them, and I said, well, why, why do that? And it was really good. I took still images from the entire ad, put it into ChatGPT, did a nice 250 word prompt at that time because I was a bit of a hurry, and so 400 words didn't happen. I'm thinking like a marketing consultant, going through a stakeholder analysis, and it was brilliant. I think it did a great job providing a 360 understanding of what was happening here. So let's see what happens. Quick tips on the personas before we end today. Make sure the years of experience match the peak of the career. Remember this from class. You've seen this before. No 50-year experienced web developers. Use well understood professions and companies. So again, what does a waiter or waitress have on their LinkedIn profile? Key associate in the F&B industry. 100% accurate. Doesn't tell us what they do. Location and language matter. I highly recommend looking at the enhancing productivity module, which we have in our trainings, particularly on email and on how to look at globalized email. Really figuring out idioms and phrases, even if you speak the language and translating. It's not just about localization, it's about contextual localization. Again, new chat, new API call per persona. Don't switch in the middle. No 20-year recruiters with a Harvard MBA, but then they went to night school and they learned how to code, and don't do that. New chat, and keep personas that work for you. Yeah, keep them in your Evernote or Notepad or Word or Google Doc or fancy Jira prompt tracking system, whichever one you're using. We covered this last time, but I didn't want to re-emphasize this because a couple of you came back and asked more about this. Multi-pass and multi-persona can bring down error rates. And one of the biggest things we all struggle with are these error rates that, the AI system somehow doesn't quite get it or it misses something. And so having a multiple set of eyes look at the same thing as it goes through is really, really important. And so you could create a persona as the creator, you could create the persona as an editor, as a quality assurer. You could create an adversarial persona that would be the critic, and all of these would sort of be able to look at the same thing before it goes out. It does get more expensive, and the only reason why I'm really suggesting it now is, again, for those really important things where you can't get it wrong or you really want a low error rate. There will always be an error rate. It'll be better than a human being, but there will be an error rate. But where you need low error rates, it might be worth paying the extra money for a couple of more bots to look at it. You can simulate these again by just copy pasting between chats and between your custom GPTs in a chat GPT without having to create a complicated system. But it's fairly easy to implement. This is another one. We talked about it a little bit briefly on this. Please use multi-personas effectively. Again, very underused. I think the Stanford study, and I'll talk more about it next time when I have all the details in, is really telling. We expected it. But their ability to get multiple perspectives, multiple internal expert perspectives, external focus groups, and look at the same thing. This is hugely powerful. Normally we don't get to do this because it's too expensive. This is best practices in most industries, but we don't really get to do this because of the expense. And AI is making that super accessible and super cheap. Okay, perfect. Let me take a couple of more questions, and I promised people I would end on time, but happy to keep the conversation going. Matteo, how does ChatGPT compare to Copilot in safety, and what do you think about Copilot? Oh, Matteo, let's talk offline. I'm kidding. Yeah, somewhat. Look, I don't think there is any real difference between ChatGPT and Copilot when it comes to privacy, safety, and security, as long as you spend a little bit of time on both, making sure everything is checked off, making sure all the trusts are there, and making sure you get the compliances. It takes a little bit of effort in both. I see no difference. And in fact, in many ways, at the moment, I'm finding ChatGPT a little bit safer for smaller companies under 500,000 because they don't have the internal capabilities to properly integrate Copilot. Versus ChatGPT is just a separate system. It's closed. You can get all the privacy security certificates and all of that. So that's one big thing for sure. So I don't see any difference really in safety, especially if you know especially if you're checking the boxes and making sure you're paying for it appropriately. I think Copilot is a brand, it's not a model. And I think Microsoft has done a great job in the last 30 days upgrading it and bringing it to a level that is very usable. I still have a long list of features I'd like. I'd like PowerPoint to work like Gamma, and I'd like a consistent model across all the systems. So if you go into Microsoft Word, for example, there's a limit of 2,000 characters for a prompt, which obviously is not, and it's not using ChatGPT models, it's using Microsoft's own Pi models. There is a quality difference there. I'm happy to chat about this on how to get AI into companies. Increasingly, for me, the most important thing is use what works now, and you can quickly get access to that's easy, cheap, and doesn't have much of an issue in terms of licensing and systems. And I think ChatGPT does that really well. I think Copilot does that very well. I think Anthropic does that very well. And so with the appropriate tool for the job, what I would say. Up the training course, I did post that, so I hope that is there. When will the AI for HR course be available for the Vajal site? That's a great question. So I've done it in person as a beta test a couple of times. It's worked really well, actually. My concern about AI for HR, marketing, AI for sales, AI for manufacturing, AI for all of this is, there is no standard agreement on what a standard HR process is, right? There's no a standard agreement or standard marketing. And what tended to happen was we found that we were more and more entering into the field where we were teaching marketing or teaching HR rather than teaching the AI part of it, right? And so I think part of it is us just drawing a line in the sand and saying, look, we assume you know the majority of needed HR marketing concepts, and this is just a add-on after you have either been had experience in marketing for 5-10 years or taken a 2-year degree course in that. And I think that's what you're going to do. We're just going to send it out the door with the assumption that you know what you're doing in that field, and this is just teaching you what you do in that field using AI rather than trying to reinvent the wheel and figure out, okay, this is the best practice for marketing, this is the best practice for HR, and this is what AI does. And so hopefully sooner rather than later, please. Tian, so why do you put persona enchant not in custom instructions? Tian, because you want to use multiple personas. You want to use a lot of personas. And if you put it in custom instructions, you'll forget you put it in. That's just one, and it'll pollute all your chats afterwards. So that's why we don't do it. Justin, please outreach at vajal.ai, and I'll say it again, Justin, outreach at vajal.ai. Please send that. That's tracked. I also see it once in a while, so we will get you sorted if there's anything else on that, so don't worry. Couple of other questions which I had missed. I'm just going to the top. Yeah, Jay, I think the new model that close to Amber, what are the level of trust, security, privacy, concern, enterprise deployment? Jay, again, let me give you the links to all of these. So a good place to start, honestly, it's just a basic trust center from ChatGPT. This is the one I'm sort of tracking, right? And you can start here to start thinking. The big question is, do you need the act? So again, as in all cases of enterprise deployment, do you need the paperwork or do you need the actual security or do you need both? And if you just need the paperwork, obviously everyone just needs the paperwork. And I think there's a few models will give you the paperwork, or people like Microsoft and Amazon and Google who will run these models also for you and give you the paperwork. In the actual security and all, I would definitely go with a provider who is providing an end-to-end certification of the model, not just hosting it, for example. Because again, hosting the model then it puts the security on you, and that could be fine. But then do get the compliance certificates. I see most problems happening not on people choosing the wrong company, but failing to understand what guarantees they're giving. So remember, trust and safety, only two things. Do you trust the company you're speaking to and why? And if you trust them, what is the assurances that they're giving? And so I see a lot of people that, oh, hey, we took Microsoft, or we took Amazon, or we took OpenAI, we took Anthropic. Obviously, privacy and security is number one, but they forgot to check off all the boxes, right? So you just make sure you do both. I've been told I have to end here. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming. As usual, insane um, uh, updates just in 2 to 3 weeks. I'll see you all in December. Don't forget to please keep following, go to the AI gym, start building those muscles, and please become a trainer and help us change the world.